And welcome back to the Hot Lap, and welcome to our BTCC Brands Hatch preview. We'll be looking at the tracks, looking at notable drivers going into the Brands Hatch round, as well as a look at that timetable. But first, it's Brands Hatch. It is the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, which probably is my favourite circuit to play in computer games. Why? Because it was so short, I memorised it. However, as we will see in turn one, that first turn, it is very, very hard to protect it. I mean, it's got 2 left-hand corners, 5 right, and it's a circuit length of, what, 1.208? No, 1.208 miles. So it's quite short, 1.9 kilometres. Pole positions on the right, if you needed to know. The lap record, a Benetton B197 in 2004, 38 seconds. So, okay, the touring cars aren't going to get that fast as that, but it is fast. It's a circuit that I go to regularly. In fact, I'm going to this circuit this very weekend. I cannot wait. But all this talk about the circuit, let's go take a look at the Brands Hatch circuit. There's Ash Sutton there, spinning around the circuit, but let's go one better. Let's go behind Ash Sutton as we are now about to begin the lap. And as we come down, when you look at, if you want to look at the full map, we come out of clearaways and now we are into what's called the Clark Curve. Yes, I know. You're astounding facts. And down at the Brabham Straight, this is where you see a fair amount of passing. This is a track where, let's be fair, it doesn't really have a streak to its name, especially the Indy circuit. There's always a slight bend going on. There's always something going on. Now, here, as we're coming up here, this for me, as we're coming up to the first corner, is one of the most difficult, for me, corners in sim racing, in driving. Paddock Hill Bend. I mean, absolutely fantastic. It's an awesome corner. It goes down, it has undulation, but what I find, I don't know about any of you, ever since I think the first, TOCA touring car game, the first one in 1997, I find it so difficult being consistent. I mean, it drops down. Where do you brake? Okay, you brake, you turn in, the car goes loose, it either oversteers, understeers, and then we come up the Halewoods Hill into one of the most popular overtaking spaces, which is going to be Druids Bend. So late braking, you'll see cars side by side here quite often, and they will carry that side by side all the way from Druids Bend into Graham Hill Bend sometimes, which is here, and you need to get a good exit from here onto the very short but aptly named Cooper Straight into this kind of like left right flick, Surtees and McLaren, and back again into clearaways, where you can take, there's a couple of different lines to take here, there's a kind of like a tighter one and an outside one. You do see cars so close together here. Be careful of that gravel trap. We often see incidents even on the first lap as far away as clearaways and through to go do it absolutely all again. Absolutely fantastic stuff. So, but what about the track itself? Pray tell, I hear you say. Well, it's one of the most iconic tracks in the UK. It has had Formula 1. James Hunt himself has driven on this track and won on it. It's based in Kent and it's visited even today by the GT World Challenge Europe. Obviously the touring cars and the British Superbike Championship. Other major events are British GT3, the British Truck Racing Championship as well. And it's absolutely, go there. It's always there for a good time. And when you sit at Brands Hatch, especially when you're on Paddock Hill, the front straight, it reminds me very much like Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's got this amphitheatre, the Indy circuit at the very least, quality to it. So a series of motorsport festivals have introduced to new audiences. They've also got the American Speedfest Festival, if you're interested. But it boasts an unrivaled history. It dates back 100 years, back when grass racing, mud racing, in 1954. We've got, as I mentioned, legendary drivers such as Sterling Moss, Jim Clark, Jack Brabham, Senna, James Hunt, Lewis Hamilton, motorcycle legends such as Barry Sheehan and Carl Fogarty, and interestingly, Nigel Mansell first claimed his first victory here, all the way back in 1985. Yeah. What can I say about this absolutely wonderful circuit? I'm being biased now because it is my favourite circuit. It is my favourite circuit in the UK, without a shadow of a doubt. So let's get into what drivers, notable drivers, I'm not going to go through all of them, do I think could be, you know, doing a good job. Well, we got a news story about him a bit later, but Aidan Moffat, not bad at all. A really, really solid first win of the season. Are we going to see more? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I predicted maybe, you know, the odd podium, maybe the odd win if he was lucky. I don't think luck came into it. Him and Rob Huff at Donington had an absolutely fantastic ding-dong battle. I expect more of the same from Mr. Moffat here. But also, this guy here, really solid. Normally I'd think, oh, is he under pressure? He's up. But this is the only guy that appeared on the podium for all 3 races in his Napa Racing UK Ford Focus ST car. And I expect him to be really, really strong at Brands Hatch. Having said that, I don't expect him to have a better weekend than somebody else, which we'll probably get into in a minute. But interesting, it's not this guy here, Colin Turkington. He's won at Brands Hatch before, but I think if he starts at the top and doesn't have an incident, we could see a win. I think he's got about just as much chance as Ash Sutton has. But I really want his teammate to do well. Well, Ash Sutton's teammate, that is, Mr. Dan Camish. I think he's won here in the Porsches before. I've seen him win in the Porsches before. I mean, come on. We can do it. We can do it. Also, I think Jake Hill could do fairly okay here in his laser racing tour, and in particular, Aidan Moffat's teammate, who I would probably think he's going to win out compared to Aidan Moffat throughout the course of the season. I think he will do fairly well at Brands Hatch as well. Now, the surprise of Brands Hatch could be this guy here, Nick Howson in Bristol Street Motors. We know, along with Mr. Ingram, who also races in Bristol Street Motors, that is a solid car that he's got in the Hyundai i30. I think he may well spring a surprise, because they got that car absolutely perfect in the hands of Tom Ingram, and I think that hopefully goes down to, you know, a good, maybe with a tiny bit of luck on that reverse grid. But I think Mr. House said, for me, I'm going for a surprise, and I'm going to watch it because I am going to be there. Let us know what you think. I cannot ignore this man here, though. Mr. Rob Huff, absolutely brilliant. He showed he has still got it. Will he still have it come the end? Come after the 3rd round at Brands Hatch, we'll have to see. But the man I think is going to be taking all the plaudits at Brands Hatch is this man here, Tom Ingram. Yep, he does it really well at Brands Hatch. The first time I visited, he won. I think I don't know if it was his first victory, but it was very near his first victory if it wasn't. He always does really well around Brands Hatch. I kind of expect him to, at minimum, be on the front row after what is, let's be fair, quite an exciting qualifying session normally. So, Bristol Street Motors to reign supreme overall, and I think Sutton and Turkington will give them all a hard time. I think Josh Cook could have a good one, and I'm hoping Quick Nick Houston is going to spring a bit of a surprise. So that's kind of my predictions for Brands Hatch. But let's get into a couple of the stories though, coming out of Brands Hatch. Well, really coming out of Donington and into Brands Hatch. My apologies. So bear with me 1 second. So there we go. That's better, isn't it? So Brands Hatch. First story, Moffat. So Moffat, as we know, he kicked off the 2024 championship in stunning fashion, winning that round. Now, despite deteriorating weather conditions and the challenging of navigating what is now known as this quick 6 qualifying, Moffat won that final race 7 years after his BTCC win. Funnily enough, at the same venue, and it sets what the team are saying, a competitive tone. And this is also why I think Mr. Cook is going to be really up there for Brands Hatch in the rest of the season. So Sunday's race schedule was delayed, as you know, after this significant rainfall. But as the weather continued to improve, Moffat, benefited from a penalty for another driver, meaning he would start race 2 in 9th behind Josh Cook. Now, when the lights went out, Cook he ended up doing a really good job. He passed Colin Turkington and Dan Camish. The BMWs having a bit of trouble lighting up their tyres. But by the end of that first lap, he was 4th, where he would remain. Now, despite suffering some front-end instability, though, Moffat was able to secure 8th place at the time. placing him comfortably inside that reverse grid draw, alongside teammate Cook, as well as the Speedworks Toyota of Rob Huff. Now, the draw placed Mr. Huff in pole position, Moffat alongside, and what a ding-dong battle we had. We spoke about it in the Donington race review. Go back there if you want to see our thoughts. Absolutely fantastic. But they're not the only ones that are happy, Team Moffat, because we've got Bristol Street Motors. They made the best start, I think, Tom Ingram and Bristol Street Motors have ever made to a touring car season. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly confident that's right. The XL outfit went into the meeting reaping the rewards of what they'd class as a really busy winter. And it's almost been a week since Ingram's phenomenal double, as it says on BTCC.net, but it wasn't the only positive. We've got Pearson making it into the quick six. Chilton brought home a couple of points, whilst Nick Halstead sits second in the Jack Sears Trophy after what was a solid performance. So all of them have got massive reason to be smiling going into Brands Hatch, and I've kind of predicted they're going to be the strongest squad coming out of Brands Hatch. Let's see though. As you can see, my little nod there to Lando Norris, who's obviously just won his first race in Formula 1. But will anyone else be winning their first race in Brands Hatch? Let's be honest, who knows? So before I go, let's quickly have a look at the timetable for both Saturday and Sunday. As I just go here. Right, it is a bit, there we go. So this is Saturday. We've got the time. Free practice for the Touring Car Championship at 9:30, with another free practice session at 12, and then the qualifying takes place quite late in the day at just past 15:25 to 16:20. But Sunday is the big day. So that's the day I'm there anyway. So it's going to be, we've got, 11 races, haven't we, in the end? So we've got Legends Elite Car Cup at 10 o'clock. We've got the Pit Lane Walkabout if you get there early for 9 to 9:30. Race, we've got the Mini Challenge, the Rocket F4 Championship, but at 11:50 is the first Quick Fit Touring Car Championship, along with then the Porsche Carrera Cup. And then at 2:30 is the second race. 14:30 is the Quick Fit Touring Car Championship. That's that'll be round number 5, or at least the second race of Brands Hatch. Finishing up at 5:15 being the Quick Fit Touring Car Championship. But it's not the last race. That's going to be the Legends Cars Elite Cup. So when you look at it, they've got, even though people have criticised that they don't, it's not as packed, it is as packed as it has ever been, even though the Ginettas have sadly gone, it was a bit of a shame. I think that's now with the British GT Championship, which is good. So there we go. If you made it to the end, please send us a like, send us a subscribe. That would be absolutely fantastic. We will speak to you soon here at the Hot Lap. And stay tuned here. We'll have another BTCC kind of preview, rounding up all the news before the end of the week, before going into Brands Hatch, and then we're going to have our race review, most likely on the Monday evening, because I think with the M25, if anyone's going, is sharp between, I think, junctions 9 and 10, which is going to make it interesting at the weekend, at least, for trying to get there. Anyway, this has been the Hot Lap. Thank you very much, and we'll speak to you soon for more touring car action.